Hello, welcome to Tony's Bonsai. Today I'm going to be doing some work on my silver birch trees, so let's get stuck in. It's got quite an ugly base here, but both of these are alive and it is healing over, and well, at the minimum we can say it's got some character. The movement to the trunk was added with wire by me last year. I anticipate this being the new apex of the tree. So I've got some nice branches in place. I'm happy with the way that the tree's developing. And this really thickened a lot in the last sort of 12 months. And the reason it did it is because I've allowed the tree to grow out of the top. You can see here the large growth that I've allowed to just explode from the top of this tree. And this is called a sacrificial trunk. And that's doing a great job. It's really putting thickness on. And another 12 months, this will really add some significant thickness to this trunk, which is what I want. The problem is that I don't want all this foliage shading out and killing off these lower branches. By pruning these and beginning the development, I'm keeping these branches really quite fine and delicate, which I really like. I think that's working very nicely, and I want to continue it. I don't want these to die, so I thought I'd use a technique that I've seen often used for pine trees, and I've used it myself. The idea is that if I can manipulate this part of the trunk and sort of bend this out of the way, then it'll allow the lower branches lots of light. I've applied a piece of 6.5mm wire to this section at the top, and I wanted to show you this is definitely the tree as I see it from the front. Therefore this branch needs to go backwards. So if I turn the tree side on, it needs to come now towards me. This top branch here, this is the new apex, and I have wired below that just to anchor it, but I want to get this bending fairly low, and it's really, so this is the front. It needs to go that way, so I don't need to go mad on this bend. I just want to get it out of the way of the tree. That's the idea, you know. And this won't be included in the design. Now that I've got this all back and out of the way, so it's not casting any shadow on these lower branches, I can then turn the top of the tree to face upwards. Because I still want this to be very healthy. I want this to grow strongly and do its best. I don't want it costing me any of these lower branches, so I'm quite happy with that. I think that's good. That's sort of there, gone. Just this one could possibly come around, because this could also cast some shadow. We're back looking at the front of the tree, and this branch, although it does go out to the side, I would still rather it move further out of the back like that, just to allow extra light to come down onto these lower branches. So I'll just turn the tree round now, and it does seem a bit counterintuitive wiring branches that I'm going to be cutting off, but as I said earlier, that's not the reason that I'm doing it. I'm doing it to get them out of the way. And yeah, you've just got to visualize the tree with none of that top stuff on, but with a much thicker trunk that this will add. So yeah, I'm feeling quite proud of myself there. On to the next tree. This next birch has had an excellent year. I put this movement into it last winter. It's held nicely. It's got some nice silver bark, and it's got some good branching, but there's a couple of things that I just need to sort out. With you looking from the front of the tree, I'm happy with this new apex that I've created. That works well. But I've got a branch coming out of the back. If anything, it's getting a bit too thick. I really want to hold that back and stop that from sort of developing too much. So the way I'll do that is by cutting it back quite severely to sort of one bud on each branch, and that will just, it'll just peg it back, and as this develops and thickens, this one will go at a slower rate. So that's good. I'll leave the top because I'm happy for that to just keep growing, pulling sap upwards. But I've got a branch here that's quite interesting, and it's this one. And it's got one branch on top of another. A definite option here is to just remove this lower branch. That will add some nice taper into this. The other option is to try to rotate the branch and keep this and make it into a forking branch and rotate that section. But just thinking about it, I don't want to risk killing this. It's too important a branch in the composition, so what I will do is I'll just cut it off. This is the lowest branch, and this one crosses over. It's very ugly, but I think that's really worth keeping. And if I can apply some wire and bring that out that way, then I think that's worth doing, just to add something extra in there. Before I apply that wire, that just leaves these other branches, and they're all nice, but I think I would like a little bit more movement in them. So there's some wire going on. Just like before, I'll just get rid of that. I just spent 10 minutes applying a few pieces of wire to this tree, and it worked out really well. I've had one of those medical helicopters flying overhead. I presume, you know, somebody's ill. These people in need of critical emergency care, you know, in hospitals, I find them very inconsiderate of the needs of YouTubers who need to get content out. But, you know, I'll let them off. Back to the tree, the wire's on, so let's get some movement into these branches. This is the lower branch that had that branch that was very tight and twisted. And I've wrapped the wire down in between the two branches, and it's just allowing them to just pull apart. There's a slight split in the wood at the base. I'm hoping that doesn't kill this branch, but if it does, well, it needed doing anyway. I couldn't leave it as it was, so that's all I'll do to that. And the actual main trunk, the main branch, I'm going to look at the front and make a decision now on the main movement of all these branches, because I think I got the front wrong before. I can't believe I've just done the majority of the bending on this tree and I didn't press record. So I'm going to explain what I've done. Part of me said straighten it up and then rebend it, but I'm not doing that because that'll damage the tree potentially. But what I did is I've applied an up and down movement to this branch, so it goes up, down and back up. So looking at this new front, you know, I don't see that as the front. I see this as the front, so I can see some of the movement in that trunk. We've got movement in that branch. This is in a good position. And I moved this one. It's still a back branch, but it comes more out that way at first so that you can see it from this view. It just looks like it's in a more natural position and not hidden. So that was the work I did. I've yet to bend this small branch, so I'll do that now. It comes out in a really nice position, this branch. It's got a lovely bud there. It's got one on the outside, and I'll just add some standard S-shaped movement. It might get cut back in the future, that one, but I think that works well in that place. I like a game of chess, me, and one of the channels I watch, he often stops the video and says, right, now you try and work it out. What do I need to do to this tree? I'm not saying it's the right answer, but it's the sort of decision that I'm going to make. So I'm looking at this. It's looking quite good from all the angles, but I see one thing that I definitely want to do. What would you do? And I think it's this branch. This is all too flat. It's all on one plane. If I look from the side on here, these three branches are all coming out of, they're all on that same plane basically. And if this could come forward here and fill this area, I think it'd create a more three-dimensional tree. I've applied the wire to this branch, so looking from this new front of the tree there, I can now bring this branch around, and it's just a case of manipulating that branch round into place off the same plane as the other branches. And this, see, it's just beginning to crack on the back edge there, so I'll pull it back a touch. That's all I can get away with, but that's fine. It's just filled this void and stopped the tree being just two-dimensional. While I'm at it, this side branch that I just bent a moment ago, where I just went for the up and down movement, I do think it could also come forward just a bit with just a bit of a bend that way, like that. It's not a lot, but it just makes a difference. This is the new front that you're looking at there. I'm really happy with the work I've done. It looked okay before we started half an hour ago, but this bit of wiring and a little bit of pruning, I just think it's taking this tree forward to become definitely a superior tree next year than it would have been if I'd just left it. I'm no expert at bonsai, you know, I don't claim to be, but I love sharing just my sort of journey. That's what this channel's all about. As always, thanks for joining me. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon.